Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another thrilling broadcast with us here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. I know we've got a lot of familiar faces in the crowd today, but if you are new to us, if this is your first time joining, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And you are catching us on a really epic day because we are smack dab in the middle of our epic World Ocean Week celebration. We've got, I think, 29 broadcasts this week alone featuring scientists from all over the world. It's been such a wild ride. We've been live with penguins in South Africa, live with turtles in Nicaragua. We've got scientists from all globally sharing incredible stories of science and adventure. So a big thank you to all of you for joining us. All of these are on our YouTube channel. So if there's anything you missed you want to catch, you can head there and do just that. Now today, before I dive in with our speaker du jour, I want to note we do have a Kahoot today. So between our talk and our Q&A, if you want to play along with a little 4-question quiz and have some fun, this is your game pin. Extra way to keep it interactive and fun. It's always a good time. Now, I'm so thrilled to welcome back Dr. Joe Dituri, Dr. Deep Sea, who last time I got the chance to host him was literally living on the bottom of the ocean, a story in which he's going to tell us a little bit more about today on the Project Neptune 100 quest. I, in this job, get to work with some of the coolest scientists and storytellers on planet Earth. It's like the dream job, pinch myself daily. It's very rare I meet someone who has more enthusiasm than I do. Dr. Deep Sea has that. So you are in for such a treat as we bring him back to share his story of education, storytelling, human physiology experiments, and more at the bottom of the ocean. So Dr. Dituri, welcome back in, and it's so nice to have you today.
Good morning! How are you guys? I'm so excited to be here, and I want to thank you again for having me back. This is one of the things that we do at the Explorers Club. It's about education. It's not about just going out and doing cool things, although that's fun, but it's about coming back and teaching people about what we've learned so that you can then pass on that knowledge to the next person. So with that, would you like to just get started? Shall I just start sharing?
I think you should, because we've got like 683 kids waiting. We've got the biggest audience of the entire week of programs for you and for this. So,
all right.
Let's literally and figuratively dive in.
Figuratively and literally. I love it. All right, I'm going to talk to you about exploring for life. So this is my bias. This up in the top left-hand corner, that used to be me. I'm a retired special operations officer for the United States Navy, did 28 years of active duty Navy service, and now I teach and I'm an assistant vice president of the University of South Florida. And basically I do clinical research. And part of the thing that I wanted to research was what's going on in the marine environment and what's going on with the human body as we put it in this isolated, confined, extreme environment. So there's the whole project team of great people that I had on board with me. Right there, my 2 doctors. Ladies, take note. Almost my entire staff was female physicians and psychiatrists. So guys, you got a lot of catching up to do because these girls were crushing it. So my overall, it's the exploration for life, but it's not just about the life of us as humans. It's the life of the planet and how we take care of that. It's the life that we're going to hand to the next generation. So we're pretty excited about that. I want you to start with this in mind. The overall thought of this thing is called bioprospecting. My buddy, James Cameron, went to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. And when he came back from that, he gave me a call and said, hey, come out to the house. I want you to do an evaluation of my submersible. Right. So he went down to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. And when he did, he discovered this sea lice right here. Now, that sea lice is basically a partial cure for Alzheimer's. Wait, what? Let me say that again a different way. There is a partial cure for a disease that afflicts humanity that is living at the bottom of the Marianas Trench. And we never knew about it. How long has it been there? No clue, right? It may have been since the dawn of time that thing's been living there. So it's December of 2012. I put my hands on my head like this and I sat back and I said, everything we need's on this planet. We don't have to look anywhere else. We just have to find everything. So when Kennedy wrote this quote, there was no way that he knew how profound it was because he basically then, right after this, said, we're going to the moon. And I'm like, but, now I wasn't alive at this point. I'm not that old. But this cat was like, hey, we need to look in the oceans. And then he said, oh, by the way, we're going to the moon. So I said, look, we got to keep going back to the ocean. So we said we want to do 100 days undersea. The reason why we did 100 days was no small chance here, because the last record was 73 days and we wanted to beat it 27 times. No, that's not why. Because we wanted to move the needle. We wanted to move the needle from double digits to triple digits of how long we can live in the ocean. So that's why we did it for that long. And plus, we wanted to start on March 1st and end on World Oceans Day. So woo! So if you look back out here in the distance, that was me under those bubbles. That's me just hanging out. And this was my habitat, my living room, my abode. This is everything. This was my isolated, confined, extreme environment for 100 days, right? I got to live in this teeny tiny bedroom. Trust me, I know all of you think your bedroom is small. This bedroom is about 7 feet length and about 6 feet wide of usable space. That bunk is so small that my shoulders barely fit on it. There's a little pool because, you have to have a little pool, but look how small the pool is. It's about 6 foot by 7 foot, same amount of space that I was living in. And then here was the living area, common room, and what I turned into the research room. Now there's a TV here, but I never even turned on the TV for 100 days. Why? I had this. That was what I was looking at. It's the world's biggest TV. I got a live streaming of the underwater environment looking out that window on a daily basis, right? So why did we do it? We did it for 3 main reasons. And I have a PhD in biomedical engineering, so I did biomedical research, right? That's what I did. Blood, urine, saliva, electrocardiograms, electroencephalograms, pulmonary function tests, all of this really cool science for us to be going and doing what we have to do in the isolated, confined, extreme environment. And then I wanted to do STEM outreach. I literally wanted to talk to people like you on a daily about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and give you the awareness that we have some real problems on this planet and we need to solve it. I love Elon Musk. He's like, we're going to Mars. I'm like, Elon, I have a question. What are we going to eat? What are we going to drink? How are we going to get there without ionizing radiation? How are we going to fix this? What are we going to do for that? Like, we need scientists and engineers to get on this stuff. So hashtag that's you. And then what I wanted to do was talk to a bunch of researchers and scientists to talk about preservation, protection, and now rejuvenation of the marine environment, because we're handing this planet over to you and we got to do it more better, right? Because we're not good at it and we have not done a great job at handing over a good planet to you guys. So for that, I apologize, but we're changing and we're trying to get better. So let me talk to you about the biomedical research and the long-term study of the effects of living in an isolated, confined, extreme environment. So we did all of this junk. Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff in there in big words. The point is, we did the most robust scientific journey into what happens to a human when you live in this isolated, confined, extreme environment since the 70s, right? So we did tests that they didn't even have in the 70s. So that's me and everybody that came down. I had a couple of high school kids come down. I had a couple of younger kids come down, and we did experiments all over the place. You could see what we were doing was ear experiments, and I was up from day to night. I worked my tail off. I did about 6 to 8 hours of science every day. And then I went back and I did about 2 or 3 hours of outreach every day to STEM classes. And then I did about 2 hours of interviews on TV, news, and media. So I was working while I was down there. This wasn't just a, hey, go downstairs and, relax. But so here's the bad stuff that happened to me. Everybody wants to know the good stuff. First, I want to tell you the bad stuff. My height decreased by 3/4 of an inch. Why? Astronauts are in tension and they get pulled apart. So they are taller. Aquanauts are in compression. So you get squished when you go down there. After 100 days, I got shorter by 3/4 of an inch. Now I started off at 6'1", so it's okay. I'm 6 1/4, but it grew back. I grew back after about 9 months. So I got progressive myopia. My vision changed. I decreased in some of the pulmonary function tests. I had some overstimulation when I came to the surface. And then my blood rated age decreased, basically. So we had an increase in the number of stem cells, but my blood-related age decreased. So it could be the answer to aging or anti-aging. And then finally, I had a tooth crack. So on day 12, right? You plan everything. You get all these doctors involved. On day 12, I was eating popcorn. By the way, no popcorn on space missions ever, right? Because I cracked a tooth. And on day 12, so for 88 more days, I had pain. I surfaced. I had pain. I went to the doctor 2 days after I surfaced, and he goes, wait, you're not leaving the chair. You're having an emergency root canal right now. I can't believe this doesn't hurt you. And I'm like, oh, no. It hurts. Don't get me wrong, but science hurts sometimes. So, but here's the good stuff, right? The good things that happened to me while I was down there, 50% reduction in every single inflammatory marker in my body. If you don't know it, most of the diseases that we have as adults are related around inflammation and inflammatory markers. So you see these things going up. I doubled my deep and REM sleep. I increased my cortisol. And what happens when I decreased my cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And what happens when cortisol goes down? Testosterone goes up, which is like yay for guys, right? Decreased PTSD, anxiety, decreased telomere length, and I increased the number of stem cells I had. So look at this. This is your brain underwater, right? I had an increase in coherence by 9%. Coherence is how well your nodes talk to one another, which is really cool, right? You get smarter and better at talking to each node while you're underwater. And the phase lag, the time that it takes to get between those nodes, decreased by 5%. Holy mackerel. So I think better and faster while I'm underwater. Yes, please. I'll take 2 of those. Thank you. We did all these scores and you could just tell all of the depression, anxiety indexes, all of this stuff. If you have anxiety, it went through the floor. The GAD-7, the Epworth Sleepiness Scale, I was doing great things while I was down there. Here's my sleep data. Look at this. Here's before my dive. In deep and REM, I spend about an hour and a half in REM and an hour in deep. But over here, while I'm during the dive, underwater, under pressure, 2 hours and 43 minutes in REM, 2 hours and 22 minutes in deep. That's crazy numbers. Nobody sleeps that well. I mean, that is the kind of sleep that you need for restorative sleep. Let me tell you guys and gals, when you're out there, sleep is the single most important thing that you can do. It really is. It's where you learn. It's where you heal. It's where you remember things. It's terrific. So get your sleep. There's my cholesterol. You see my cholesterol drop. I'm just trying to show some of the crazy things that happened while I was down there. Yes, when I came back out, it went back up. Maybe I had a little bit too much fun after I got back up. But there's my extrinsic age. So I am 56 years old right now. My extrinsic age is 34. I bet that's younger than some of your teachers, guys. Here I am crushing it, and we're finding the cure for aging. So we did a lot of observations while we were down there, right? We did a whole bunch of science. They did some injections in my joints just because I was under a little pain, because I was doing 100 push-ups a day, but that was really starting to hurt my my shoulder and my chest. So they were injecting me through the use of the butterfly, and it was kind of cool. But there's a lot of pressure while you're down there. And when you're trying to inject in there, you probably need a larger bore needle. So medications wore off faster underwater, but here are the overall increases in stuff. These are very detailed, but look at what they can help with. Decrease in inflammatory markers, right? A lot of the post-COVID and the long haul COVID stuff has to do with inflammation and inflammatory markers, right? We all know about, COVID and what's happening, but there's a possibility of you decreasing those inflammation markers while you're in this type of environment. You potential to treat sleep disorders, aid in weight loss for cortisol response, an increase in testosterone. Wow, that's just epic. Improve in physiological scores. The EEG, you could treat people. So there's a lot of potentially good stuff here, right? All right. The good news is You don't have to go underwater. You can get these from these things. They're called hyperbaric chambers. Now, hyper just means more than, and baric means pressure. So hyperbaric chambers mean you increase the pressure, just like you do when you dive. So when you scuba dive or go underwater, you can increase the pressure. So what did we do in STEM and outreach? That's all the biomedical engineering, boring stuff, right? What did we do? We broadcast around the world. And when I say around the world, I know I got people from Virginia, Ontario, Montgomery, Maryland, Pennsylvania. I know I got all you guys out there, but I'm talking to Phuket, Thailand, Ireland, Africa, India. We were in Russia. We were all the UK for whatever reason. I'm big in the UK and Ireland. I have no idea why, but yeah. And I know I'm pretty big in Ontario. So thank you guys from Ontario. Whoop, whoop. All right. Our Canadian friends to the north. Right. But listen, we talked to 5,579 students and teachers on 125 Zoom calls. I did 125 hour plus long Zoom calls in 100 days. Holy mackerel. We were on it and on it like a bum on a biscuit. So these are some of the kids that came down here, and look, you can just see they're writing on what I call the window to the world, right? They are just loving science and excuse me, and figuring out what's going on in this scientific environment and just having a great time at it, right? Lots of people came down, students came down, teachers came down. We opened up our microphones, we opened up our studio, and we opened up science so that these kids could have a good shot at looking at what science is. Listen, science is not about beakers and microscopes and lab boring, right? That's all boring stuff, right? You can do science in cool environments. And do you remember I told you we have some really hard questions that need to be answered? So we need your help. If you guys aren't scuba diver certified, boy, you should get there. And we talked about preservation and protection of the marine environment. While we were down there, we found 2 new species, 2 things that nobody'd ever seen before. And we were in a place where thousands of people dive every year, right? So this, what you're looking at in the middle, it's called a single-celled ciliate. It's a single-celled organism with little cilia on the outside of it. I'm calling this one the banana ciliate. I didn't find it. It's not mine to name, but it looks like a banana, for crying out loud. So we found that it's new to science. When you look in the places you have always looked, you will see the things that you have always seen. So you have to look differently. You have to look in a different place. Please do that. So here's what I experienced while I was underwater. That's the top of the habitat. And when I was down there, I saw lots of fish. And that's what you see when you become a scuba diver, right? And it's great and it's nice to see all the fish. But when you live underwater and you take the time and you go slowly and you see, can you guys see the seahorse right here? The seahorse that's sitting right there. That's what you get when you slow down and you look at the environment. You see things you've never seen before. And then and only then, when you've been there for like 80 or 90 days and the environment accepts you. Do you remember my pool that I was telling you about? Right there, sitting in the bottom of my pool, was a shark. Yeah, just swam right up. And I saw her every day and she'd get closer and closer and closer. And then what would she do? When she accepts you in her environment, then she'll come over and sit on your doorstep and just hang out. You don't get that anywhere. This is like, you don't get that unless you live there, right? So that's me when I came to the surface, came up and my great crew was there. All the doctors are there making sure I didn't fall out. We got worldwide media coverage. We crushed it. We were doing great things. Fox, CNN, CBS, NBC, ABC. It was terrific. This is what it's all about. You're like, wait, what happened? Where did we go? We went to the Library of Congress. Now, this is a library. And I'm going to argue with you that this is the greatest library on the planet, right? Because this is the Library of Congress. There's a bunch of cool things in there. I opine, I suggest, I believe that this Library of Congress has lots of things in it. But there are between 10 and 30 million species on this planet in our 4.5 billion years of living on this planet, or this planet existing, that there are about 20 million, between 10 and 30 million species. right? So that's 30 million 10 and 30 million stories. So all of these stories can be kept in a library. This library is planetary biodiversity. And where did it all come from? This guy right here, coelacanth. Coelacanth is supposedly the origin of all species. That's it. And it's the beginning. That's my goddaughter in the top left-hand corner. That's coelacanth, which really hasn't changed over the years. But everything seems to have come from that. The dinosaurs, the kangaroos, the duck-billed platypus, the birds, everything came from that. So what we've found on this planet so far is about 5 million things, less than 5 million things. And we are on the verge of the 6th grade extinction. If we don't do something drastic right now, things are going to become extinct, and that's going to be a problem. So if we don't do something crazy right now, our total biodiversity is going to drop. And it's not like, oh, the sky is falling, but it really is. We're on the verge of the next great extinction. So we need to do something differently. We need to go find those creatures. Why? Do you remember that sea lice in the very beginning of this thing? That's the reason why, because there's possible cures for Alzheimer's and all this stuff out there. So while we have done space exploration and about 700 people have been to space, and we've gotten about 30,000 person days in space, and we've explored out there, that's good stuff. I'm not complaining about space. But this is the number of people that have been to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. Total of 28 in the whole world. We need to start exploring our oceans. Everything we need is here. We've just yet to find it. And like Sylvia Earle says, what we do or don't do in the next 10 years are going to magnify the impact over the next 10,000 years. So with that, I would love to take your questions and chat with you about the next net.
Well,
did I do it? How's my timing?
We can do it. You're in. You're good. We got tons of time. We're going to start with our little Kahoot together, and then we're going to dive in with questions with all our live classes, all our YouTube classes, kids from all over the place. Holy geez, this is a lot of fun. Well,
all right, hold on. One thing. See this? See this?
Yes.
This was a styrofoam head. Okay, a normal styrofoam head about the size of mine. I took it down to the Central Pacific Ridge at 8,200 feet. And that's the amount of pressure that's down at 8,200 feet. So while you're thinking about all that stuff, just keep in mind, exploring the ocean is hard, but not too hard for you guys to fix it. So we need to do it.
No better message than that. Before we dive into the questions, as I said, we're going to do a little Kahoot together. So for those who are new to Kahoot, including Dr. Dituri, the faster you answer, the more points you get. And what you win is his and I's everlasting respect, which I think is pretty cool. So please do join in. If you don't have a device, you can just yell out the answers in your class too. That's always kind of fun. But we're going to lead in with 4 quick questions, and then we are heading to Mr. Rahim in Danvers, Maryland to kick us off with our Q&A in just a second. But let's get this started, especially if you're on YouTube. Get your answers in quickly. You're a little delayed behind us on StreamYard here. But let's dive in. It's my metaphor that works so well for this broadcast, more than any other. All right. Question 1. And you're with us, Dr. Dituri, if you want to help us out with any of these answers. How old do you have to be to start on the path to becoming a scuba diver? Is it 30, 25, 10, or 20? When can you start being a scuba diver and doing scuba diving? We talked about the importance of scuba diving, opening up 70+% of the world at the beginning of the broadcast. What do we think? I think.
Do I press the button? How do I do it?
You don't even need to press anything. You just need to help us out. The kids are all logged in. There, if you want to press the button. 10. It's 10. And in fact, at 8, you can do Bubble Maker, which is where you're just starting to learn to breathe. But you can get the same certification I have. I'm nowhere near as skilled as Dr. Dituri, but like open water diver at 10 years old, which is like most of our audience today, you can start to become a scuba diver, which is super cool. Groovy Cheetah has our lead. Way to go. We're going to go to question 2. All right, if you want to answer, you can, but I think you might know. How long did you spend on the bottom? You have an inherent advantage, I think, in the Kahoot. 10 days, 100 days, 50 days, or 1,000 days. Maybe that's the next frontier is 1,000 days, I think. It's a long time.
I would love to do that. By the way, I'll volunteer to help anybody that wants to do that.
Good to know. Some of our students, maybe. 81. Yes, 100 days, 100 days. Moach, you got this. Way to go. What did that do? Excited Goat takes our lead. Oh, my goodness. All right, question 3. Multi-select, so it's going to be more than one answer. Might be all of them, might be 2. I don't know. What did Joe do on the bottom? Educational programs, human physiology experiments, tested new technology, or found lost pirate shipwrecks. Maybe that's the next expedition. Sounds like a lot of fun. We've actually had, have we had a pirate shipwreck program? We've had shipwreck programs. We've had lost ship programs. I don't think we've had quite as much of that. So it's A through C, all 3 of those. Yes. Yep. All these fun things and more. Yep. All right, let's see. What does that do to our leaderboard? Super glad. Wow, we're all over the place. Today. Mixing up everybody. Final question, and then we're going to gambles for our first one. Okay. This question has no points. Would you like to spend time at the bottom of the ocean? We just want your thoughts. Yes, absolutely, or no way, I prefer the land. And that's a valid answer. I hope after today's talk, you are more inclined to the former. But what do we think? Dun, dun, dun. 6 more seconds.
You know my answer.
I love it. I love it. We've got 6 live classes with us. We're coming to all 85 answers. 74. Absolutely. Want to go to the bottom of the ocean. 35 are landlubbers. That's fine. That's cool.
Fine.
But if you change your mind, 10 years old, you can start on the path. Legend Snail is 3rd. Radiant End is 2nd. And first, drum roll for all the marbles is Super Glider. All right. Well, that was fun, as always. Miss Raheem's class, who watched you last year, sent your past program to all their kids. So they're very well prepped. I'm going to go to them for the first question. Miss Marcard, I'm coming to you second. Come on in. Gambrels, hi.
Hi, Jesse and Dr. Dituri. Thank you. Bunch of excited kids here. This is Aaron. Hi.
Hi, Aaron.
Have you ever found any underwater species or creatures underwater that are new, like new?
New ones. So we found that single-celled cillet, that little banana cillet that I showed you. And the second thing we found while I was down there, I had a sponge researcher with me called Dr. Shirley Pomponi, and she found a new sponge. And sponges are great because they're filter feeders, so we learn a lot about them. Like a powerful drug that we have on the planet Earth up here is called acyclovir, and it's an antiviral drug. So that drug was possible because we found a sponge and we learned what the sponge did. There's so much we can learn from the underwater realm.
I love when we get this question. We had, I forget her name right now. Geez, it's on the tip of my tongue. We had a marine biologist come in and they asked, how many species have you found? And she's like, I literally don't know anymore. Like whenever we go to the deep ocean, we find it's incredible what's to discover down there. And I'm so glad we got that query. All right, Algonquin Elementary. Miss Marcart's class, we're heading to Virginia. Come on in, guys, and take us away. Hey.
What was the hardest part about the mission?
Ooh, no pressure.
Hardest part about the mission, let me tell you, logistics is the hardest part of any expedition, any exploring you do. It's all about the logistics. How do you get food? How do you get water? Elon Musk is great. He's telling us we're going to space. It takes 200 days to get to Mars, guys. 200 days. I always stayed underwater for 100 days. Those people are going to be in an isolated, confined, extreme environment going from here to Mars. We better figure it out here on this planet before we start going up there. So logistics is the nightmare, but you can fix it because I know you can.
Yep. Great question, guys. We're rolling along with these really well. Thank you to our YouTube classes, too, for sharing. I'll come to yours in just a minute. We're going to head to Ontario. Miss Taylor's class, grade 4s, come on in and unmute your mic and then take us away. We'd love to hear from you. Hey, guys, welcome in. Unmute. Come flick on that microphone and we can take a question.
Say hi.
Our friends to the north.
Yes.
All right. Okay, come ask your question.
Okay, so I have a question. So, what's the coolest species you found down there? And it was like, what's the coolest one you found?
Yeah.
So far, I found with Dr. Richard Pyle on a dive, this species, it's a butterfly fish called Prognathodes. It's a teeny little new butterfly fish, but the cool part of it is it had a black spot. It had mutated to have a black spot on its behind. So anybody looking at it, like a predator would go, looks like an eye, which direction is it going to go? So it had an eye on the back and what looked like an eye on the front. And it was like, you couldn't tell which way it was going to go. So it was really cool.
That was the most enthusiastic answer for that question I've ever seen in 8 years of this. That was great.
But it's true. I looked at it and I'm like, I couldn't catch it.
Listen, I'm with you. The fact that like every time I see an animal, I'm like, wow, that crow's so pretty. Pigeons, they're the best. Like I understand being a total nerd about wildlife. So thank you for that.
I'm a geek.
By the way, we're continuing to be north. I'm in the north as well. We've got a lot of Canadians here today. We're going to head to Guelph and Miss Steinhoff's class. Come on in and unmute your mic, guys, and take us away. Hey.
What age were you scuba?
We've had a technical issue. There we go.
What age were you scuba certified?
What age was I what?
Scuba certified. When did you get your
Scuba
certification?
certified. Oh, funny story. So I was about 9 years old when I took my first breath off a scuba tank. And that's because my father gave it to me to go clean the underneath of his boat and work on the underneath of his boat. So I didn't even get certified for like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years because I was trying to just go diving, right? So I'd go to the scuba shop, get my tank filled. Nobody ever asked me. And then finally in the 80s, they asked me, they said, hey, where's your C card? And I'm like, C card? Like, I don't have an A card or a B card. I don't even know what you mean by a C card. They're like, no, your certification card. And I'm like, I have a certification card. They're like, oh, you have to take a course. I'm like, I've been diving for like 8 years. Yeah. So, and then I was in high school and I finally had to take a certification course. So yeah, I didn't get certified till I was like, I don't know, 17, 18, but then I'd been diving since I was 9. So the rules were different back when I was young. And that was a million years ago.
Do as Dr. Dituri says, not as he does with that. Get your certification. But that's a great story. By the way, I'd never seen the picture of you back in your military days. It explains why you're in such great shape. But that was a really funny picture of me because I would never have known that was you. Anyway.
Right. It's the long hair. People
long hair. You look like an excited pirate. Miss Curran's class, we're heading to you, Miss Lascombe. After that, we're going to take some YouTube friends, and then we're going to do a whole other round because we are whipping through these. Come on in Virginia, guys. Hey, fourth graders, welcome in. Unmute. I know. You've developed a real trend of this.
Woo! Yeah, go ahead. Real loud and clear.
If you could go back and do something, what would it be?
If I could go back and do something different about that underwater exploration, wow. I can tell you this, I would not have eaten popcorn. Oh, no popcorn is going to be allowed on any expedition that I go on from this point forward. If I could redo that, I would take that back because there's a lot of pain for a lot of days. And I was this close to canceling the mission because it just hurt, man. But, sometimes you just push through it and you get something great out of it. Like, look, I get to meet you guys.
I think there's no better gift than that. As you said, you're really fond of outreach, and it is. It's the greatest joy to have kids that are so excited. So thank you guys as an audience today as well. By the way, that was the exact same question as Mr. Tomlinson's class in Pennsylvania. So you guys are going to have to share another one in the YouTube chat so that we can cover another one. Because I want to hear from you guys in a minute. But we're going to head to Miss Lascombe's class first. Come on in, unmute your mic, and then we'll take some from our YouTube friends before we do a second round. Guys, welcome in.
Has someone ever went deep sea diving or lived underwater for more than 100 days?
No, that's it. The current world record is 100 days. Normal saturation divers, like I was a saturation diver in the Navy, normal saturation divers stay about 30, 35 days. Prior to me staying the 100 days, the longest time anybody had ever stayed underwater was 73. So, I didn't do it to break the record, but I did it to do stuff like this, to raise awareness and so that people could understand what happens to people when you leave them in an isolated, confined, extreme environment.
Yeah, great question, guys. All right. We're going to head to YouTube for a minute. Miss Coburn's class, Dalewood students want to know, what strategies or tools would you recommend for someone to consider doing this experiment? What's your tips?
First of all, there is no I in team. everybody thinks that I was the guy that did this. No, 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 no. Surround yourself with great people, smart people, people that are smarter than you. That's what I did. I got a whole bunch of really smart people, and I said, what should we do? And they said, hey, why don't we do this? And they're like, you want to do it? I don't want to do it. And everybody's like, 1, 2, 3, not it. And I was the one that wound up doing it. Now, seriously, I really wanted to do this, but if you surround yourself, the number one thing, surround yourself with people that are more intelligent than you, that can help you on your dreams, goals, desires, wishes. So that's what I would do if I was going to do it again.
Honestly, when science and exploration, it's really funny, whether it's Arctic or space or deep sea, it's amazing how much collaboration and finding other smart people to work with you is the key. Like, it's really one of the joys of this field is that you get to work with the coolest people and learn so much from them in every aspect of your job.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for highlighting that. That's really important. Let's see. Hamilton, Ontario kids want to know, how do deep sea creatures compare to shallow creatures? What adaptations of the deep sea creatures you've seen have that makes them different from the ones that are closer to the surface?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's all about the eye, right? The bigger the eye, the deeper you go, the less there's light. So the eyes wind up getting bigger, right? And they let more of the inherent light in. And the other thing that they do that's really cool is they do bioluminescence. So basically they can generate their own electricity of sorts to light things up so they can see. So they see, they feel, they kind of sort of feel their way through life. But yeah, the undersea creatures are really a little bit weird. The deep ones, that's for sure.
I'm going to take one more from YouTube. And by the way, if you're keen on deep sea creatures, we've done a ton on deep sea stuff on our YouTube channel. I'd also encourage you all to check out Natural World Facts. It's an amazing YouTube channel, pretty much solely about deep sea creatures, with like 870,000 subscribers. So check that out. Some really, really good stuff. Our last YouTube question before we head back to Mr. Rahim is from our Pennsylvania crew, there it is. They're wondering how you felt on day 100. Were you relieved? Did you think you could stay longer or wanted to? What was your, what swirl of emotions would that have been?
So the emotions, when I was going to get out, you have to do what's called decompress. And I was a little concerned because nobody had ever done it before. And I did all the math by myself. Right. So I was unsure as to whether or not the math was going to work and that I wasn't going to get hurt. So we wound up doing what we call a Doppler echocardiogram on me on the backside. And we found 0 bubbles in me 1 hour post dive, which means that my math was right. So science always wins. Do your math and make sure that you know how to do math. Oh, I'm serious. It's one of those things. Like, I was literally scared. I'm like, I'm rolling the dice and I'm hoping I did the math like 10 times.
The fact that we can link in like shooting a spacecraft to land on a moon on a distant planet and like coming up from depths, and it's like the math is the answer. So I honestly found, so brief aside, when I did math in university, I did calculus. I was doing terribly. I'm not very good at math. I'm nowhere near like Dr. Dituri. And one day I was just like, they use this to build bridges and send rockets to space and do all these cool things. And there was that mindset shift that math was awesome that actually helped me do way better in the next test. So I can't encourage you to think of it that way enough. Yeah.
I have a similar thing. Like, I had a problem with statistics, and statistics for engineers was just killing me in my master's curriculum. And then this one professor taught me how to play poker by using statistics, and we were playing poker in class, and I was like, now I get it. This is amazing. Now math is easy. Like, statistics are like easy because I just play poker.
Royal flush of a presentation. Mr. Rahim, we're heading to you. Come on in, Guillermo.
Right. We're laughing at that last joke, Dr. Dituri. This is Blake and Brendan. They have a question together.
Hey, guys.
Do you think you're ever going to break your world record?
And if so, what will you mostly be focusing on?
Ooh,
so
great.
I have no intention of breaking my own record. I will help anybody who wants to break my record. And I want y'all to go out there and break my record. I'm being very truthful. Like, I want that so that people can get interested in the marine environment. Look, I'm old, right? That you guys are the next. You guys are the next gens. The next generation of explorers need to get out there and get moving. So start while you're young. And then by the time you get to be my age, you can go, look what I did when I was young. And then you can help somebody.
One of my very favorite things is when people that we bring on want people to break their records, whether literally in your case or figuratively. Like it's so nice. Explorers and scientists should want people to advance their work, to do better things, to do bigger things. It's what we're trying to inspire today and this whole Ocean Week series. So a big thank you to you for that answer. That was great. Ms. Mark Arts class, come on in. Take us away, guys. Welcome back.
What other food did they have except for popcorn?
Oh, wow. Great question. So food is hard. Logistics were hard. What they wound up doing was bringing down to me about every 3 or 4 days a bunch of frozen and pre-prepared meals. So thankfully, one of the teachers that I had lectured to gave it a bunch of pre-prepared meals, which was really good because I was able to cook in the microwave, but not on an open flame because I was underwater. But I wound up learning how to poach salmon pretty well in the microwave, which is kind of cool. You learn how to cook. Look, man. So I had poached salmon, greens, salad, stuff like that. But all that was a bit arbitrary because if we go to Mars, we're not going to have any fresh fruit. We're not going to have, fresh fruit for the first maybe 30 days, but then that's it, right? So you got to find substitutes. And that's what we were looking for, was those substitutes to get the nutrition.
Would poached salmon in the microwave be on your good slide or the bad slide? Where did that go?
Oh my goodness. I eat poached salmon. I eat salmon all the time. It's one of the best foods for you. It's terrific. I still love salmon, and I'd have it 2-3 times a day if I could.
So funny. We're going to take 5 more questions, folks. I know we could talk all day.
5.
I know. Time flies and you're having fun in these. I'm going to take a quick YouTube one and then Miss Taylor's class next. I love this from Maha in Miss Awani's Peel Virtual Elementary School. Was there a person that inspired you for this, or was it just in you to do this?
Wow. So my mom used to tell me, look, you get what you give. So you better start giving. Otherwise, you're not going to get. And it stuck with me like, wow, I get that. So I figured my mom kind of inspired me to go get out there and get what I wanted. And this is one of the things that I wanted to do. It made sense and the mission was good. Have something that drives your heart. Don't worry about the bank account. Have something that drives your heart and you won't work. All of a sudden you're doing cool things and everybody's going, how'd you get to do that? And I was like, well, it seemed like the right thing to do. So I just did it. They're like, well, how'd you get money? I'm like, it'll work itself out. I'm just a poor scientist, right? But that's it. Lead with your heart. How's that?
Lead with your heart's a beautiful message. And thank you for giving a plug to Mom. I told my mom about today's broadcast. She's probably watching it. So hi, Mom. And Mom's the best.
Hi, Mom.
We're going to go live. Miss Taylor's class. Come on in. Miss Steinhoff, you're next. We might go a minute long, but we're going to be rebels together because that's what this is all about. Unmute your mic. Come on in and tell us another question. Hello. Hey.
Okay, Myra, do you have a question?
Hey, Myra.
Sure.
How many types of fish species did you see?
Ooh.
Oh, I couldn't hear that question at all. I'm sorry.
I got it. That's okay. How many types of fish? How many species of fish did you see when you were down there?
Oh my goodness, so many. It's crazy. But like I said, we've only found less than 5 million of the about 20 million on this planet. So we're only 25% there. So it's not about the number of species that we've seen down there. It's the number that we haven't seen. But like I said, if you look in the same place you've always looked, you'll see the same species you've always seen. So we got to look in a different space. I just got a call from the news the other day saying, hey, we found 100 new species off the coast of Brazil in this deep water thing. And I'm like, we never looked there before, did we? So you got to look under the rock, around the corner, in the spot that you've never looked before, exploring, and you'll find what you haven't found.
For our land lover audience, if you go to rainforest, same deal. If you go looking in any jungle in the world, you will find new species. And it's it's incredible. It's like magic. Miss Steinhoff's class, thanks for your patience, guys. Right at the camera. Miss Carnes, Miss Lascombe, we're coming to you next, and then we're going to do a big wrap up together. So please stick around for like 3 more minutes, everybody. Hey, Miss Steinhoff.
If you could, would you rather go to the Mariana Trench or the Titanic?
Ooh. Oh boy, definitely the Marianas Trench. The Titanic is taken and kind of sort of been done, but the bottom of there's only been 28 people that have ever been to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. I want to go. In case anybody's out there in TV land and they're listening, I want to go. I want to go. Dibs, me, pick me.
By the way, on that note, I can't believe it's 28 now, but as of like 10 years ago, it was 2 ever that did it, I think in the 50s. Then James Cameron, the director,
60s.
went, and now tons of people have gone. Like more people, it used to be that the moon, more people had been on the moon than the bottom of the deepest ocean, and now we're more than double the other way around. So that's all in the last decade. It's an incredible time to be an explorer.
Story, yep.
Miss Carnes, come on in, guys, and take us away. Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
How did you
Come real close.
How did you discover the new species under the Mariana Trench?
Ooh.
So I didn't discover it. James Cameron was the guy who went down there, and he had an articulating arm, and that arm on the craft just grabbed something. He was just grabbing things. He wasn't like trying to look for that species. So he grabbed this thing and brought it to the surface. Now, here in Florida, we have these things, sea lice. They're teeny tiny little creatures, and they'll like bite you and give you a little, like a bee sting or something, right? They're teeny though. At the bottom of the Marianas Trench, they're about this big. So he just picked it up and brought it back, and then we just pulled the DNA sample off it. And we're like, hey, wait a minute. That's kind of cool. Yeah. So we didn't even know what we were looking at. We're like, hey, that looks cool.
The essence of all good science. Ms. Glasgow, we're going to wrap up with you guys. A big thank you to all our audience for joining in all over North America. Check out our full Oceans Week celebration. We're going to send an email at the end of this. So if you want to let us know what you thought of the program, please do. We'd love to have that. Send it to Dr. Deep Sea as well. But Ms. Glasgow, come on in and wrap us up with one final query. Hey.
Do you ever go swimming with a shark?
Oh, yes, all the time. All the time I would go out there and swim with the shark because remember, that was her world. I was just a guest in her world. So I give her respect. I give her distance, right? I don't come up. I don't swim up. I don't try and grab her. This is her world. They're there. The sharks are in the ocean. That's where they live, right? So we can't do anything about it. The only thing you could do is choose to exist in harmony. That's it. That's all you get.
We get a lot of shark queries about people swimming with sharks, and I always like to note something that happened a few years ago. They filmed LA beaches, so Los Angeles, 1 million people in the water every day, and there's great white sharks around them all day long, swimming around, swimming away. They want nothing to do with people. You are way more likely to be attacked by a coconut falling from a tree or a vending machine falling on you than a shark is to ever do anything to harm you. Sharks are wildly misunderstood, amazing creatures. I hope you all take the chance to swim with a shark someday. It is like magic. Dr. Dituri, this has been one of the most fun broadcasts I've done all year long. Thank you so much for your expertise, your passion, all of it. And what we do to wrap up every broadcast, as I know you'll love having done all these broadcasts, I'm going to bring in all our classrooms to say a big thank you and farewell. So, Miss Rahim, Miss Marquardt, Miss Taylor,